What's up guys? How you all doing? Hey, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be checking out how to build our very own LED video wall. We're going to be taking simple 32 by 64 LED matrix panels and building our large wall today. If that sounds like something interesting to you, if you want to learn how to build your own LED video wall, stay tuned because it's coming up right here, right now on MI Sperry. Okay guys, so as the intro said, we're going to be building a video wall. So I got a big old box of equipment, so let's see what all we got. I'm missing a couple of pieces, but we should have pretty much everything. So I've got lots of screws from McMaster-Carr, some spacers, we'll see what that's for, more screws. We've got basically some tabs that are screw tabs that allow us to hook up to some of that aluminum extruded, pieces of aluminum extrusion. I think you guys know what it is. It's the slotted, the like T40 slots or whatever they are, slotted stuff. In fact, I have it over here off camera. But basically, here's some of it just arrived today, so we'll be using that. I've got some other pieces that I'm missing. Got some end pieces for that, and we've got some cables to cable things up with. We've also got some end pieces, some coupling pieces that we'll be using to couple things together. And then, of course, this giant box is full of all of the displays. So this one, I believe, is going to take about 30-some displays to complete. It's going to be, I think, 2 foot, like 2.5 feet by like 4 foot. So it's going to be pretty darn good size. I've also got some controllers and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and get to unboxing, and we'll come back once we get things unboxed. Okay guys, so as you can see, we got it all unboxed. So there's about 30 displays. I believe these are the 32 by 64 displays. Like I said, links are going to be down in the description for the whole bill of materials for all the stuff here. Basically, we got 30 displays here. That's going to make up our display wall. We've got all of the different cables. Here's the different ribbon cables to cascade them together. We've got all the power cables. We've got longer ribbon cables because it's going to need to go to a controller. Now, I picked this controller up, same place I picked up these, but basically this is an HDMI controller. So it has a daughter board that goes on it that you connect all of your ribbon cables to, okay? And then it's got a main board that is compatible. It's the main controller board. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start building and putting our displays together in the array that we need to put them in. Once we get the border pieces, then we'll be able to put the rest of it together. Now, the cool thing about the video is you guys get to see it all happen in real time. Me, I have to put together a little bit and then wait. So give us a second and we'll kind of clear off the table and we'll get things going and we'll see what the shape of it's going to look like. Okay guys, well, a little bit of change of plan. I noticed that there's actually, when I do these double rails like flat, it actually separates these guys. So what I ended up doing to keep them all together to where it's all one giant piece, there's no gaps, is I started using some devices from my erector sets that I had, and I noticed that I didn't have enough of them. So what I'm gonna try is I went by the hardware store. We always called it holy iron, but it's basically this stuff for like hanging pipe and things like that. And it's a metal and it has basically holes throughout. So I'm gonna see if I can't cut this into strips and see if I can mount the two pieces together. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the two boards, putting them together, and then mounting that piece in between these two pieces right here. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'll let you know when I see if I can't get it figured out. So let's, I'm gonna continue that way and we'll see how it goes. Okay guys, so we basically got this thing all put together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to basically cable it up. I know I'm missing the side pieces. They have not come in yet. So once they get here, I'll be able to finish the rest of the frame. This will also make it all lay flat and everything once I finish that up. But once the pieces get here, we'll finish it. But that doesn't mean we can't go ahead and cable it all up and at least do some testing. So we're going to cable it now. Okay guys, so now we've got some stuff wired up, some the modules mounted down, and now we need to mount up a power supply. So got me a 30 amp 5 volt power supply because everything here is going to be 5 volts, but we need to mount this somehow. Now I see there's some mounting holes that are in it that might work, maybe not. But what we have to do is we're going to have to take it apart so we can get some screws through the base of this. So that's what I'm going to do now, is take this little guy apart. At least take the top off, take the board off and everything where I can mount it down. Unless I can get, yeah, I don't want to do it sideways. I'd rather do it lengthwise. So we're gonna do that next. Let's take this apart. Okay guys, so we pretty well got it put together here. So there's all the wiring, got it all wired up. Got the power supply here as well as our cards. So we got our main controller card and then we Ethernet that over to this card, just using the first port right there on that, and then basically just hooking up our ports here. So it looks like what we got going on here is for the first one goes all the way up here to the corner. So this is the first one, goes down here, and that's going to be your very first plug here. And then so on and so forth. Your first is the top one, second, third, fourth, and fifth, and sixth. And that's how it goes here. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So, and then of course, as we cabled them, we just cabled the panels together. Now, one thing to make sure you're sure of is look at the arrows on the paneling and make sure that all the arrows that are horizontal are pointing in the same direction, as well as all the arrows that are vertical are all pointing, if you can see that, pointing in the same direction. Okay, so everything needs to be in the same direction as you're doing this. And then we basically used, you know, these good old terminal blocks for all the power, just to power and ground it all, and then all the little power plugs, just plug in all your guys there. So came out pretty nice. The rigidity of it was pretty good. I ended up not really needing these double-sided, probably the single-sided would be fine. I don't know if you see that, it's kind of sticking out. The single-sided probably would have been fine, just because the way that the layout of the panels were screw-wise, it didn't line up to where I could just turn that sideways and go across 4 deals at once, and so it didn't really work out. But it still looks pretty darn nice. Got my cables out here. So basically what I've got is I've got the USB cable, the HDMI cable, the USB cables for programming, the HDMI cable, and of course the power cord that I use. And I just used a simple power cord that I found at just my local hardware store and strip that out. Make sure that you connect this properly. This is mains voltage, so if you don't know what you're doing, you may get somebody that is an electrician or something to help you out with that, because this can hurt you. So make sure you're very safe when you hook up the mains voltage. Make sure you do not forget to hook up the ground. All right, so and then our basically our simple little connector here, I just took a power supply cable
is what I did, and just clipped off the 12 volt and just did the 5 volts and then of course the 2 grounds, and that's basically all you need to do to power up your main device. And then over here you just use, I don't know if you can, let's see if you can see it, here it is, just the regular 5 volts power and ground. This is a 30 amp power supply and it needs pretty much all of that. It does get quite hot, so definitely make sure it's in a well ventilated area because you don't want that burning up on you. But 30 amps is what I chose, and it pretty much uses about all of that, so in any case. All right, so let me flip it around. We'll take a look at the front. All right, so here is a frontal view of it. You can see all the individual panels, but came out quite nice. It's actually quite big. I do like that channel stock that I use, that aluminum stuff. I don't know, I've got more of it up here if you can see it. This aluminum stock, this stuff is actually quite nice, and if you get all the fittings for it, it can go together quite easily. Now I did have to cut some of it down to size to make sure that I had enough so it wasn't sticking out or you know, anything like that. So I did have to kind of cut some of it down, just use a hacksaw or something and cut it down. But actually did quite well. So now we'll probably go on to the programming of this thing, and I'll show you how to set it up. It is a little bit of a mess to program. I will warn you that, but I'll upload my files and stuff to where you guys can have a good starting point, depending on if you want to make something bigger than this or maybe even smaller. But we'll go ahead and get to the programming now. Okay guys, sorry for the crummy camera work, but it was just going to be too big of a mess to set up a screen capture software on this computer. I'm using actually my crummy little HP laptop because I needed something that was more portable than my desktop, so sorry, you'll have to bear with me. I'll try to zoom in and stuff on it. I will put a link in the description on where to download the software. It is free to download. Once you install it, you'll get these 2 programs. You'll get LED Set. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get closer. LED Set and the LED Studio. We're going to be using the LED Set to do the setup, so we'll go ahead and double click on that. Of course, it's going to ask us if we're sure. Yes, we're sure. So, oh yeah, I forgot. I got to hook up the USB. It's telling me that the LED system is not found. So let me plug the USB cord in real quick, and we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so sorry about that. So now I have the video wall powered up. I have it plugged into the wall, so the 5 volt power supply is powered up. And once I did that and plugged in the USB, now we have liftoff. So looking at this program, you're going to use this screen configuration. Click on that. And then you'll have your screen here. Now, depending on what your video input will be, you're going to have to do a little bit of math, okay? So the video input that I'm going to be using is going to be out of a Raspberry Pi. It is going to be 1024 by 768, okay? So that's what we'll choose here on display mode, is the 1024 by 768. Well, since basically our unit is about 320 pixels by 192 pixels, we have to do some conversion. That's what these coefficients are for. So the width coefficient is going to be the large number. So what we're going to do is, since we are 320 pixels wide, which is our 64 times, let's see, how many do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 panels across. They're 64 pixels a piece, so 5 times 64 is 320. So that's where I'm getting that 320 number. Same thing as we have 6 panels wide, so the panels are 32 pixels width-wise. So if I have 6 of them, 6 times 32, that's 192. So that's where I'm getting those numbers. It's basically my length and my width of my display with by number of LEDs that I've got. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the width, I'm going to take my 320 and divide that by 1024. That's going to give me my width coefficient of 0.3125, okay? Then I'm going to take my 192 and I'm going to divide that by 768, okay? And then that's going to give me about 0.25 for my height coefficient. So that's where I get those two numbers. Now everything else, I've got manual brightness to 16, screen power to auto on off, resolution is, or rotation 0, I don't need to rotate it. I've got COM port 4, which is what the USB to serial plug is. Sender number is number 1 because I only have one sender, I don't have two of them. And then I've got this monitoring card / cable checked. It was checked by default. So pretty much everything else is defaults on that. All you do is you say save to sender once this is over with, and it will send the information to the sending card, okay? Now we have to do the receiver card, okay? So now on the receiver card, I have a file that I will give a link in the description on how to get, so that way you can at least have a starting point. It's actually, got to give credit where credit is due, it's actually from Adafruit. Adafruit started first when they did a like 16 by 16 LED paneled video wall, which is kind of what I modeled this one after, except mine are 32 by 64, not 16 by 16, but it's a good starting point, and so I'll put my RCG config up there, which is basically the configuration of all this stuff, and that way you guys can have a starting point. But basically, once you upload that, you're going to come over here to the actual width, and you're going to change that to what your total width is and your total height is. So mine's 320 by 192. Okay, that's what mine is. All right. So then once you do that, then you should be able to, and that's after you load your file. Now the next thing that you're going to have to do once you enter those two parameters, you're going to have to go to display connection, okay? And on display connection, I choose normal. This took me forever to figure out. A lot of places will tell you that you have to put horizontal card, vertical card, you have to put how many panels you have. That is incorrect. What it is telling you by horizontal card and vertical card is if you have multiple receiver cards. Well, we don't have multiple receiver cards, we just have a single one. So our horizontal card and our vertical card is only going to be one because we only have one technical display, okay? So that is very confusing. I was confused as all get out on this, but we want it to be just one specific card, okay? Now, what I did was I set my card width to 64 by 32 is what I put, because that is the width and height of a single panel, okay? Now, it will go ahead and it will multiplex them all together, but you put in your 1 and your 1 for your vertical and horizontal. It will display this card thing right here. I hope that you can see that. And it will be blank. It will say width 0 and height 0. So then you type in down here, you type in your width and you type in your height. So mine is 64 LEDs wide by 32 LEDs tall. Then all you have to do is click this box and it will set the width and the height for it. That is it. Then all you have to do once that is set and your receiver setup is set, you're going to hit send to receiver, okay? So you hit send to receiver, it will upload it to your video wall. Now, this is where I played with all these different settings down here, okay? And you just have to play with them. Some will make your picture worse, some will make your picture better. The biggest difference is down here is this quality and gray mode. Those, if you play with those, you can get sharper images, and basically if your image is fluttery or it's jittery, these two settings will help you out immensely in fixing jitter or any kind of blanking or blinking that may go on. Just play with those. I can't really describe it any better than that because you literally have to just mess with it. I ended up having to turn this gray level all the way down to just quality, and then I had to turn this gray mode all the way to high refresh, low light, and that gave me the best picture. Yours might be different depending on the LED panels that you purchase. Okay, so basically that is, in a nutshell, how to set up the software. And like I said, I will have the links to my file put down below. Also, I'll have some links to some helpful information, as well as I'll have links to all the build products and stuff. If you want to copy mine exactly, I'll have all the links down below in the description. So once you've done all that, you've sent it to the receiver, you've sent it to, or saved to the sender. So that's basically it for the software. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up and see how she performs. Okay guys, so here it is. Now the camera that I'm using right now may, because of the shutter speeds and stuff like that, and then the refresh rate of it, it may have some flicker to it, so I apologize for that. But when I'm looking at it with my regular eyeballs, it is not flickering at all, but the camera may be causing it to look like it's flickering, but it's not flickering at all with me looking at it. So basically it looks pretty good. That's just basically a Raspberry Pi desktop. I have a video that I recorded that I can play for us all. It looks pretty good, and of course the further away from it you get, the better it looks. So, and there we go. So looking pretty good. So looks pretty good. The quality, of course, if you get close to it, you know, you can't really make out words. Words are a little tough. Now if we made it bigger, obviously it's going to have more pixels, it's going to have more resolution, it's going to look better, but yeah, it looks perfect. Now there is a line, I don't know if you see this, but this line of pixels right here is just like a line of kind of almost like dead pixels. You can adjust that. There is an offset setting that you can basically scoot the whole screen around basically in that software. You know, this was the PC we were looking at earlier. But you can scoot that around, and then you can tweak your width factor and your height factor, and just kind of play around with it in there. Once you get a good display going, you can pretty much just play around with it until you get things absolutely perfect. Anyway, whatever resolution that you set is the resolution that this thing will do. So if you change up resolutions on the input, you'll have to go back into your software and change up your resolution in your software and change up your scaling factors to scale it back correctly for the new resolution. That's pretty much the video wall. There we go. Well guys, that's the video wall here, and very pleased with this project. It actually came out pretty nice. Let me get a little more of it in the background here. Actually came out quite nice. I was fairly impressed with it. This took a long time. I will say it took a long time because the software was an absolute bear to deal with. It was very, very difficult to figure out. Please share this video. If you have any questions or anything like that, please leave them down in the comments. Make sure and check for new videos coming out. I know it's been a while since I've posted a video. This is my first one in quite a while, but I've been so exorbitantly busy. It's just been crazy. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and definitely share this video with all your friends on Reddit, social media, all the different places, and we will see you guys next time.